Hello, everybody, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it's all about the monster. We are a creature feature podcast about monsters and why we love them. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska, and with me, as always, is
your other host, Khalid Hussein.
What up, Khalid?
I'm just chilling, living my best life, buddy. Doing real good, actually. So I made a few festival friends. Last time we talked, I think I mentioned that I went to a festival, and it was really cool. And I've met a few different people that hopefully down the line maybe we can bring on as guests of the pod, because I think that as young burgeoning filmmakers, they have very interesting thoughts on movies and we would have a good discussion. But more to the point, so far I've gone to 2 writers workshops that one of the people I met there runs. It's just at his place, but it's so amazing. I was able to bring in a script of mine that I've always wanted to see read aloud, and that was really cool to see. And then I met this other person there who runs a really great comedy show that I finally got to check out this week, and that was awesome. So I don't know, it's really cool, and I guess it's just a lesson in leaving the house more, which I repeatedly need to be reminded of.
Yeah, leaving the house it can be valuable from time to time.
It really can, and yeah, it's super cool. Everything about it has been so fun and just rewarding in a way that especially after the pandemic and stuff like that, going out just kind of made me anxious for a lot of obvious reasons. But it feels like in a sort of way I'm getting back to my pre-pandemic self. Not that the world in any way has gotten better enough to allow it, but despite all that, I'm doing it. I'm doing my thing.
You're adapting.
Exactly. So yeah, all in all, pretty good stuff. I'm having a good time.
That's awesome.
Thanks, man. What about you? What's new with you?
In couple things, actually. I feel like I've talked numerous times on this podcast about how busy I feel life is, but I feel like I am also adapting and starting to settle a bit to the point that one of my other podcasts that I host, Deep Space Love, a Star Trek podcast, will be releasing a new episode after a long 3-month hiatus this upcoming week. So plug in that a little bit. That's pretty exciting.
Check it out, folks. If you like this, you'll love that. It's great.
We just recorded actually this morning, so this is a double podcasting day for me.
Wow, doubling up,
yeah. So that was fun. I'm excited to get back in that. I will also echo the getting out a little bit more, Khalid. I know you know this, but our listeners might not. I was just recently in Omaha, Nebraska for funsies. Well, kind of for funsies. It was it was his wife of the podcast, Nicole's had a work event there, and we were all there together. But I say all that to say I got a really tasty beer, a couple tasty beers that I brought home from some Omaha breweries, and one of which is a coffee vanilla porter, which I am now too deep in because I had to wait for you to watch this movie, Khalid.
Yeah, I was wondering if you would call me out for it. Yeah. So yeah, I made a oopsie, and I literally. It's an 1.5-hour movie, and I waited until about an hour and 20, hour and 10 before we had to record to start it. So we're coming at you late. It's comparatively late for Joe. So my apologies. That's an oopsie. I'll take the L.
You just got me a couple porters deep. That's all.
I mean, I'll be honest, I think that that's a net positive. I can only imagine that the conversation on your end is going to be so much more unpredictable now.
It'll be great. Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So anyway, we're coming in hot from more ways than one. I mean, I got the beers, and Khalid, you're just coming in with completely fresh take, minutes ago fresh.
Oh yeah, just right out the oven. The Krispy Kreme light is on as far as my takes are concerned.
Yeah. Takes, as it might be, Khalid, are sometimes evocative of reality, which reality is based on one's perspective, as the movie tells us. That was a transition, Khalid. Will you tell us what movie we're talking about?
God, I can already hear the porters kicking in.
That was a pretty good one, thanks.
So the movie we're talking about today is the 1995 John Carpenter horror film, In the Mouth of Madness. So I got a little synopsis from our homeboy Google, and it goes a little something like this. When horror novelist Sutter Kane goes missing, insurance investigator John Trent scrutinizes the claim made by his publisher, Jackson Harglow, and endeavors to retrieve a yet-to-be-released manuscript and ascertain the writer's whereabouts. Accompanied by the novelist's editor, Linda Stiles, and disturbed by nightmares from reading Kane's other novels, Trent makes an eerie nighttime trek to a supernatural town in New Hampshire. Boom.
What a monster.
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
Nice. That's a pretty tame synopsis for what we get of him in the movie, huh?
Yeah, and we'll get into it, but it's a hard movie to pin down, especially like if you're trying to describe it, because I don't know. Should we just talk about it?
I suppose we could. Yeah.
Okay.
What'd you think, Khalid?
So overall, I really liked it. I liked it a lot. Me
too.
Especially because Jordan Peele has a movie out recently. He's been on my mind a lot. If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely watch Nope. It's something you just have to see for yourself. That's the only way to put it. But yeah, like Jordan Peele regularly cites Carpenter as a big influence on his filmmaking, and this movie really, really feels like something that like Peele saw and just like fell in love with. I don't want to put words in the man's mouth, but this like if you just changed a few details, it really does feel like Jordan Peele could make this today, and it would be very not out of place in what is growing to be an esoteric filmography for him. So yeah, like overall, I really dug it. I think the story moved at a really good pace. I think it's a brisk like hour 35 minutes, and it doesn't really like settle down at any place too long for you to like kind of feel like it's stagnant or anything like that. So like as far as like that goes, it's a very enjoyable movie watching experience. I do feel like the main character goes insane, but I do feel like I went a little insane by the end of it. just trying to like,
it's the point.
Yeah, exactly. Like just trying to figure out what the hell's going on a lot of the time. But that's like you said, it's a point. It's part of the fun of the movie. And it's just like a gonzo crazy story that is so fun to just like watch Carpenter, like, because by this point, for some reason, I thought like I went into this knowing nothing about the movie. So when after the fact, I found out that this movie actually came out after a lot of his bigger things like The Thing or Big Trouble in Little China, it retroactively like, oh, okay, it makes sense that like why it's so polished and put together. Because I, for some reason, thought it was like one of his earlier movies. Like I think Prince of Darkness is one of his earlier movies, and
yeah.
And it reminded me a lot of Prince of Darkness, which made me like kind of mentally think that they were made closer together. But I didn't love Prince of Darkness. I didn't even necessarily like it. And it felt like it was kind of plotting versus this one that like, it makes sense retrospectively that he had all these other great movies that led up to this and was able to like utilize these tools to like make a Prince of Darkness type story, but actually like make it also just like a really entertaining vehicle. So yeah, that's a lot of thoughts, but I did just watch the movie, so screw you.
They're fresh thoughts.
Soup's fresh. But what about you, Joe? You saw it a couple nights ago, right?
I did, yeah, I did, and I actually saw this when I was a kid, which I did not get it in any. I had no clue.
I remember. Nor could you? I
had a negative feeling about this movie for years because I thought it was weird and confusing and ugly, and I was like, I don't like this. It's gross, which is weird for me because I like so many weird things. But I having matured a little bit, I can now be like, okay, I see what this is going. Watching it now as an adult, I really liked it. I'll say that. I didn't expect, Khalid, this to be a Prince of Darkness like shit fest here, but I will say that Carpenter does consider this the third film in his like unofficial, he calls Apocalypse trilogy, which includes The Thing and Prince of Darkness and this, which are films that he's kind of made that you could kind of point to as having like Lovecraftian influences of like creatures or like entities sort of like setting up to take over the world in a sense, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like that those three specifically out of his filmography, he considers to like kind of tell the same kind of story.
Yeah.
I think The Thing is, and I don't think it's like crazy to say, is his most successful foray into that
Now for
world.
sure. At the time it was not, but now it is.
So
Yeah.
what, at the time, In the Mouth of Madness was the best?
No, I'm saying like when The Thing first came out, it was a flop.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever that means, you know.
But yeah, I think at the point of In the Mouth of Madness, it was already like it had become a cult favorite by then. Yeah.
Sure. And I'm not even sure what the reception was for this, but it has a box office of $8.9 million. So couldn't have been great.
No, it did not make money. They actually had I have a fact over here. They actually had to shrink the budget from 15 million to 10 and it didn't make its budget back. Yeah, so that sucks.
Oh my God. Can you imagine being just a million shy of breaking even? Like, I don't really care about like those metrics, you know, as far as like, okay, so some like rich guys in the 90s didn't make all their money back, but
yeah,
that is just like so close.
Right. But I mean, this is kind of like, unfortunately, like one of the last great Carpenter films. I think after this, he made Village of the Damned, which is not as fondly remembered. I think it's fine. And then I don't know what he made after that, but like not too long into the 90s, 2000s, I think it was Ghost to Mars, which was rough.
I've heard of Ghosts of Mars. I didn't know it was a Carpenter movie, but
it is.
I think Mars is just like a hard movie, like type of movie to make. I feel like people just immediately stop giving a shit about Mars as soon as you say that's what it's about.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, he stopped in that movie. He stopped doing like practical effects. It was more CGI based, and it didn't really age well. Anyway, it's not a Ghost of Mars podcast, but
it could be, Joe.
We could do one eventually. But anyway, I will say some of my thoughts on this movie. I liked it a lot, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed the sort of like noir elements we have at first. Like it's kind of a detective story set up without him actually being a detective. He's like a insurance investigator.
A Playboy insurance investigator, Joe.
Make that job very sexy.
Seriously, I forgot. Like I don't know why, but like it was such a just like fun, almost like refreshing, like throwback to like, you know what I mean? When it was just like white male leads were like everywhere and it didn't matter what they did, usually architect, but like they're just like in a suit and like you can't tell them shit. And it's just like, I was like, this is so just like retro now.
Yeah, so overly confident. I don't know if we mentioned that so the lead is Sam Neill, right?
Oh yeah,
we all know the Dr. Grant from Jurassic Park.
I was surprised to find out this was after Jurassic Park.
Like a year after,
which is like, can you imagine being like hype on Sam Neill after like this like big budget like dinosaur feature, and then you go see this shit?
Yeah, something Spielbergian, and then you go over to this. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, there are definitely a few pissed people.
Right. Yeah. And I should say at this point, if you aren't clear, we do spoil the movie. So the synopsis did not go into like the truly weirdness elements of it, but ultimately after the noir elements, it gets very like twisty and weird, and it digs really into like Lovecraft territory, which is like cosmic horror of this like these like sort of like greater entities or elder gods that have some sort of like pull or sway over what's going on in the events. And so I really enjoyed that. Like this is the most overtly like cosmic horror of Carpenter's like apocalypse trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say a lot of people would say it's like one of the best like adaptations of that kind of genre into the film form. Like still, I mean, there are some I think that have come out more recently that capture that essence well, but for a long time there was not. And so it's cool. This movie was kind of doing stuff that no other movies at the time were doing or able to do. So, but I think that with all of that being said, it was really fun. I also really enjoyed. There was this like little like jabs at the horror genre that Sam Neill would always say. Right, he just like kept like shitting on Sutter Kane's work and just like horror in general. Like, oh, we're just like throwing away our brains reading this kind of stuff, you know. Like it was fun, like Carpenter being like one of the horror masters himself. It felt like a kind of a loving sort of like jab at what he's doing, you know, his own stuff in a sense. But I thought that was kind of fun.
Is John Carpenter American? Sorry to cut you off.
That's a good question. I think he is. Yeah,
I think he is too. Okay, but like I don't know why, but especially the first half of this movie felt so much, especially with Sam Neill. Like, he's not playing an American like in Jurassic Park, or is he like British in that? He's
I no, I don't think he's. I think he's trying to do an American accent in Jurassic Park. Yeah,
yeah. So like in this, he's not even trying. He's just an Aussie, like an
New Zealander
or a
New Zealander.
Well, they said something about him being Australian in it, I think.
Oh, maybe they did, but
in any case, like he's playing like his own like native self, but like Playboy investigator, whatever, insurance investigator. Yeah. But what's crazy is like I feel like the movie at least the first half and maybe even the second half is so much about just like this like foreigner in a strange land, and he sees everybody going crazy, and it's almost just like a dunk on Americans, you know. Yeah. Just like the part at the beginning about like that psycho with the axe that's like coming across the street to him, who ends up being what's his name again, the author, Sutter Kane's manager, right? Mm-hmm. So like that guy is like, which great shot, by the way, of him just like marching down the street, and you so only good, see right? it from the window, and the whole time like Sam Neill's like deep in conversation with the other insurance dude, and it just like it's it's just like scene after scene of that, of like just public violence and insanity. And this guy's just like, oh, that's Americans for you, you know, like without ever explicitly saying it. But I don't know. It's even like if you put that story in today, it'd be even easier to believe that like outlook. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like how many crazy things would have to happen before you were like, okay, it's demons. You know, it's just
right.
We're such and it feels specific to American culture and our relationship with violence that we allow like that kind of thing to just borderline not phase us anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know that's the only problem with having just come out of the movie is like, I can't formulate my thoughts as coherently because so much was happening, but like that really stood out to me. Does that track for you?
I think it absolutely does. And I mean, you combine that with like the scene where he's in the alleyway and he sees the cop just like using excessive force on that graffiti guy.
The cop thing was interesting too, because like he's saved by the cops when the manager is about to chop him up with the axe. Yep. But then he it's other than that, it's like repeated shot after shot of just brutality from the cops, whether it's like the people that are freaking out because which is so funny that like a riot started because you couldn't pre-order a book. Like that, you know what I mean? Like that, it was like, it'd be one thing if it was like, as soon as the books hit the shelves, they clear out. But it's like, no, he goes to like a bookstore later and gets like they're just like stacks of them. It's this new book that everybody's going nuts for, and they can't pre-order it, so they immediately go to murder. And within that is like these shots of these cops, and it's like he pointedly keeps showing the cops just beating the ever loving crap out of these people, and then the alley thing, and even when the cops are heroic or are saving him, it's still just like an act of just like violence. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I thought that was fascinating. And I what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's intentional. It's to what you're saying. Like, I mean, there's a lot of, I think that a lot of his movies are critiques on American cultures in some way. Like Big Trouble in Little China, I think was a big critique on our take on action heroes, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's intentional with the way he makes his movies. I also think like you throw in there like the publishing company and like their like stake in it all, you know, like the which surprising role from Charlton Heston, right?
Yeah, when I saw his name come up in the credits, I was shocked. I mean, I
forgot about that.
Understandably, I was shocked by all of it because I went into this knowing next to nothing. But yeah, Charlton Heston is not a name you see come up that often, especially in monster movies.
Right. But he's like, him playing like this like publishing company exec, where he's like, there's a scene at the end where like Sam Neill's trying to say like, this book will make people go crazy. And he's like, well, I hope so. The movie comes out soon. You know, like that, like laissez-faire attitude from like corporate people. It just feels right in line with the kind of like what you're trying to say about the violence, like the accepted idea of like just the violence just happening,
Well, I mean, and I guess it really is just like kind of come back to like dunking on America. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
And it's a great point you're bringing up that I hadn't even really had time to kind of digest. But yeah, it's this idea of, because the whole idea is that the Sutter Kane guy, he's basically like if Stephen King was also the devil, more or less. And the idea is that like he's creating these like just messed up stories to try and like pollute the mind and like blur the line or delineation between reality and fantasy. Because, and I don't have the exact quote, but he basically says, as soon as like you can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality, that's when the old gods come back or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And and that's such a fascinating idea. But then on top of that, you have that like the book he's writing is the movie that Sam Neill is in, which is like such an interesting metatextual thing about like, he really has no choice. Nobody technically in the movie has a choice in what they do. And then you wrap that back up in like the publisher and basically just like this like craven capitalist like desire for money that like spits in the face of like common sense or safety. And it's just so fascinating because it's like, yeah, in a lot of ways, like if you tell a publishing company or you tell a movie studio, this thing will make all the money, it will, like, you cannot sell it fast enough, but it could bring the apocalypse. They already stopped hearing you when you said it makes a lot of money. You know what I mean? And like in a lot of ways, like money or like capital is like writing their story, and like it doesn't matter if it like very clearly will end in doom.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I think, it's, God, it's a really good movie when you say all the stuff you're saying. Right? Like,
I mean, yeah, look, and again, like this is why like Jordan Peele, like being on the mind, like it really is kind of adding to this movie, because this is the kind of movie that like if it came out today would probably get the same reception as Us or potentially Nope, where it's like it's not just like a home run movie like Get Out where everybody almost unanimously is like, yeah, that's a great movie. This is the kind of movie that like invites discussion, and it refuses to give you such a like clean answer, and it's just fun to talk about. And he really, again, like he at this point in his career, like he had all the tools. The guy was great at what he did. So like it really just comes down to like what interests him and like how he executes those skills to tell a story that interests him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And what you were saying, and just like a small thing you were saying about how like Sutter Kane is kind of like a Stephen King. They kind of model him off of like personality wise, like a Stephen King, I think, like who bases his books in the small towns and stuff. But like the book titles that they actually have of his previous books, and actually the excerpts that are read are all taken from like H.P. Lovecraft books. So they're based on those. And so there's a H.P. Lovecraft, I want to say novella, I don't know if it's a full-on novel, called In the Mountains of Madness, and so the title of this was even kind of like inspired by that. So like there's a lot of love, like the sequence in the end when Sam Neill's like looking into like the abyss and she's reading the excerpt from the book is actually almost directly pulled from a Lovecraft book, which is kind of interesting.
Wait, which sequence at the end? Sorry.
When Sutter Kane like tears himself out of existence through the book or whatever.
I thought of that when you brought up Ghosts of Mars and like how like his CGI isn't like his strong suit. It looked bad, but at that point everything is so crazy anyway that it's like kind of haunting that he like rips himself out of existence.
Yeah, it was a cool concept, but then Sam Neill like looks into the hole that he made and sees like the old gods coming, and the woman he's with, Styles, is reading like this excerpt from the book of like what's exactly happening at that moment and what's going through his mind, and it's actually a really cool scene. But that excerpt is from a Lovecraft book. I forget which one, but I read that they changed some words to make it fit the movie a little bit more, but it's mostly the same.
But yeah, now that you brought it up, like I really thought that what's her name, like Linda Stiles, I thought she was really great. The actress that played her was really great. I really liked the chemistry between her and Sam Neill, where like it really he's obviously gonna like flirt with her and hit on her and all of that, but they do a good job of just kind of like getting that out of the way and like really enmeshing her in the story. And I think that by virtue of making it kind of like a predetermined fate for all of them, it really sidesteps a lot of the like eye rolly horror cliches of like, why would you go into a church after talking to like a pack of demon kids that told you that you're going to be their mom and today's your day, and there's the town not only has like repeatedly told y'all not to go into the church, they went through the trouble of engraving a placard and putting it on the church, like not just like a sign. They didn't Martin Luther it and like tape a sign to the door. They engraved one that says "You will be damned if you go in this church." You know, that wasn't there before. So it's one of those things of like, you want so badly to like be like, ha, like that's a plot hole, like what, no one would react like that. And it's like, I don't know if the devil wrote you to act like that, like what are you gonna do?
They'll have to do the things they're doing. Yeah. It's a great way to write around it.
It's a great way to write around it. And it's what you want anyway, you know, like you don't want your characters to be so smart that like the movie's just about how smart they are as like crazy stuff happens. You want them to like fall victim to like insanity and hopefully buy enough plausibility throughout that it doesn't like take you out of it. And this movie did that. It's such a tricky balance with a movie like this, especially when you get into that ghost town or whatever the hell it's supposed to be.
Hobbs End.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was talking to you a little bit while I was watching it, and I mentioned that tunnel shot when they're driving through the tunnel, it really is just like, I was watching, I was like, this feels like they just like went somewhere else. It doesn't feel like where the bridge started and where the bridge ends is like physically the same space.
No, absolutely not. I think that like the whole sequence was so like cool and well done and so creepy. Like when you seen like the kid biking and then like the old person on the same bike.
Yeah.
Like that was so fucking
is that
creepy.
Supposed to be
and
an old person or just a kid that got like demon faced? Because it was like a kid's body.
It was, but I think it was both. I think it was the kid has been doing this for so long, because at one point when she hits him, he's like, he won't let me leave.
Yeah.
And it's so like, I think the implication is just doing this constantly, which, fun fact, first on-screen role for a young Hayden Christensen.
Wait, he was one of the demon? He was the kid on the bike?
The kid on the bike.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess not crazy. Like the actors start somewhere, usually as kids, but that's still interesting. That's a fun fact.
That is a really fun fact. But yeah, anyway, that whole sequence was creepy. And then when she's like driving and then like, okay, we're in the sky suddenly, and then a bridge.
Yeah. So, I mean, just quickly about the other people, Sutter Kane, that guy, really good actor. That creepy guy at the institution, the doctor or whatever. Did you recognize him?
Yeah, he's from
Smallville. He
right?
plays Lex Luthor's dad. Like I watched way too many seasons of that show, like long after it had clearly not been worth keeping up with. But like one thing I always really liked was like the relationship between Lex and Lionel. So like I always remembered that guy's face because like he's got such a good, just like melodramatic face that like reads, and you see it here even like so long ago where like he really is a great emoter.
Yeah, that's John Glover is the actor name. So he did good. He's in a ton of stuff in that era too, like Scrooge and Gremlins 2 and stuff. But yeah, he was good. He was in a small role.
Yeah,
but
I mean, yeah. So he's good. Linda's good. They're all good. And then, but like, it's not even just that. It's all of the small parts, like people who had like one or two like lines or like a scene max that were like standouts. I think the two for me, the honorable mentions, have to be the woman who Sam Neill meets when he finally gets out of Hobbs End and he tries to like get any information about it. And he's just like, I was just there. You have to believe me. She's like, I do believe you, but there has never it currently isn't and shall never be a town called Hobbs End in this state. What what a weird way to put it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, written by the devil. Like, no one said the guy was great, but that was just such a like. It's such a great way to just like make a meal out of such a small interaction with a person you're never gonna see again. And I hope that like like canonically in that world, she is just like that like irrationally confident about everything she says. You know what I mean? Like someone comes in and is just like, "Hey, do you guys have like wild cherry Pepsi?" She's like, "There has never, currently isn't, and will never be wild cherry Pepsi in this state." Like, and then, so yeah, she's great. No notes. The other person I want to give an honorable mention to is the hotel manager who he had a name like Robert like Robinson or something like that. Like it was like a very it was Robert Roberts, or it was something almost like his name was Bob basically, like the actor's name. But he was
the kid or the manager?
The manager. So the kid, Sam Neill, he is out of Hobbs End and he's like trying to like make sense of everything that's happened, and he's at this hotel and the guy's like, "Hey, you got a package?" And he's like, "No one knows I'm here." He's like, "Someone does." And he's just like, just like being a douche. But he sees it's like the manuscript that the guy Sutter Kane wants him to like disseminate out to the world, which will make him go crazy, right? So he's like freaking out and he grabs the kid by the collar and he's just like, who brought this? And he's like, "I don't know, I wasn't here when they brought it." Boom, in comes Bob freaking opens up the curtain doorway, like the beaded curtain doorway, and he's like, "Hey, I was here last night." And that's it. Like,
and Sam Neill walks away.
Of course he does. You're gonna fuck with Bob? You're not gonna mess with Bob. Like, no. Yeah. So those are my honorable mentions. That guy just comes in just like with all this like aggro energy that goes nowhere. And I just want to see him and the irrationally confident lady just like go at it. You know what I mean? It's that like that Dark Knight saying of like an unstoppable force hits an immovable object. Like, I just want to see the chaos that comes from both of them trying to get like opposite things from each other.
Yes,
but yeah, that's my shout out. I know that was a big tangent.
No, I like that.
Okay.
Speaking of John Glover, though, like we see him in the beginning, he's like the doctor at the mental hospital that Sam Neill is put into in the beginning.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that I like how it's told in flashback. You know, like so he's entered in, he's like admitted into this hospital like in a straitjacket, put in a padded room, and then we're like told the story. Like he tells the story, like, so we know where he's going to end up. We know he's going to grow. His mind's going to fracture. He's going to go crazy. But we're just like waiting to see like the pieces that tick away at him and like make that shit that happen, you know? And he's so, I suppose we got to mention, he's telling the story to David Warner, right? The actor.
Yeah.
And David Warner, small role, but also made a lot of that. I think like he had one of my favorite lines where he's like, "I'm going to get you out of here," all that stuff. And he walks out and John Glover's like, "Anything?" He's like, "He thinks he's fiction." It's just like out of context. It's a great line, and it's true. He is fiction, but like, it's a really fun line.
And that's the thing about it is like, and I'm glad you brought it up because I was kind of annoyed by the whole like in media res thing of like you start the movie technically at the end or the middle of the movie, and it's one of those like corny like you're probably wondering how I got here kind of things.
Yeah, but
it does such a good job because like again like we're talking about like this like this crazy story about, again, a Playboy insurance like detective. You know what I mean? Like that's not a thing. That's nothing. And the whole time you're watching it, you're just like, all right, I guess John Carpenter's being weird. And then you find out that like, no, it was all supposed to go like this, which makes it like retroactively like, okay, cool. So it didn't matter that like we didn't like, because we know he survives at least up until the institution, we go, oh, okay, so like now it robs us of the tension of like, might he die or not? But then halfway through the movie, they all but tell you like, no, he's not gonna die. He has a purpose, and everything you've seen up until then is like leading up to it one way or another. And it's such a cool twist that the like who we think is like the possessed manager is actually like the hero, like sadly the hero of the movie in a way, like that's doomed too, just like everybody else, but he's trying to stop this like messed up story, and that's why he's trying to kill Sam Neill. Like, it's all done so well, and like such a just like it feels effortless. Like it looks so well done that it feels effortless, even though you know it was probably like a pain to write this thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I also like the little bits we get in the beginning in the hospital where they're like, oh, it must be really bad out there. It's getting really bad out there. And we have no inclination of what that even means until like the end. Like that was really cool.
That was cool. And again, like to bring up Jordan Peele just one more time, the way that spoilers for Us, the way that Us ends and how it basically goes from being like a problem for a main character or just like a small group of characters literally becomes this like global problem. And I always love when a movie takes that route. I think another good example of that is The Cabin in the Woods. I love that when you raise the stakes so much that it literally consumes the world. That just to me is like so ballsy, and it might not always work, but when you do it right, it hits so cool.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I will say though, for all the crazy things in this movie and as many things that I gladly suspended my disbelief from, Joe, I have one nit to pick.
Yeah, well, let's hear it.
In what world do you get that much like artwork out of one crayon?
One black crayon.
They made a point. They made the point to say that if they said he just asked for crayons, I wouldn't say a thing. But they said he asked for one black crayon, and then they show us what he supposedly did with the crayon that he's still holding. Joe, I ask you, have you ever used a crayon? And if so, how much mileage do you get out of it? Do you think you could decorate an entire padded room, your outfit, and your face, and still have most of the crayon?
You know, actually, crayons are a lot easier to break than you might remember, Khalid. They break so quickly, too. Like, not only you would not get the mileage, but you'd probably snapped it in half a couple times.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I have to knock off half a letter grade just for that. That was bullshit. Say the devil made the crayon, then I'll buy it. But you didn't. You said he asked for a crayon, and that guy gave him one, and he did just way too much for any one crayon to sustain.
Yeah. The most unbelievable part of the movie.
It really just I'm sour just thinking about it. But that's my one nitpick. Okay, so last thing I kind of want to say about the movie. What did you think of the ending? Because that's where I don't want to say that I got off the ride, because like, but it's over by that point, you know, and like you just kind of take it as is. But like, what did you think of it before I get into it?
Well, I will say I forgot to mention when I was just a moment ago when I was bringing up David Warner, that it's the late David Warner now. So rest in peace. Great actor.
Rest in peace.
Bummer to lose him. But anyway, moving from that, I thought the ending was great. I loved the ending.
I liked the ending, and I think the only way the ending really works for me is if like we're doing the whole like American Psycho, or I don't know, I only ever saw half of it, but like Shutter Island thing of like, okay, so this movie's really playing with is the protagonist just insane element of it all, where you after a certain point you have to ask yourself, because you're so firmly in his worldview, like, is any of this actually happening?
Oh, I don't think I got it that way.
You think it's just take it as face value, like the devil did all this just so that he could watch a weirdly edited version of stuff that happened to him?
Well, no, I mean, I think that's the movie that's playing though, right? Like, I mean, it's like you said, it's all part of the story that's being written, and like I just feel like it's an extra element to like torture him, and he finally like fully breaks, you know.
I guess, but I mean, it was that the goal? Is that the whole point of the story? Like,
No, it's not the goal. I just think it's like an epilogue, like an addendum. Like, oh, here you go now. Like, this is what happened. Like, you helped bring this about. You're the star. Like that. Good for you, kind of thing. You know.
yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, I mean, it really doesn't like ruin anything that came before it or anything like that. It
like,
just
he like, so it's like you delivered the manuscript. You got this out in the world, even though he doesn't remember doing it. He was trying to avoid it, but he's like, despite all your efforts, like you're the star. Here, be the star. And he's just like finally breaking and being like, I guess I was a star.
yeah.
You know?
I mean that tracks and it's cool. So wait, do you think? Because like, I'm almost liable to believe that he didn't even exist before Kane wrote him. You know what I mean?
I was going to ask you the same question. I don't think that he did.
Because everything about him is so silly and made up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it just, again, I know I keep bringing it up, but he's a Playboy insurance investigator.
Yeah.
Like already that should have tipped me off. I don't know how he got one over on me so badly, but he did. And so
Yeah.
I prefer to believe that he was not a person or anything until he was fabricated for this purpose, which is super cool. And I do wish in a lot of ways that even if it might have like kind of robbed us of the mystique of the story, I do kind of wish they would have like spelled that out a little more plainly. Like if he just like went to like, cause like, you know, like if shit goes down, like, and you're scared, it's reasonable to want to like call your mom. And then he calls and it's like the number isn't real or something, you know? And he,
oh yeah. Like he has no actual connection.
Exactly. You know,
which he doesn't, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. But like, I feel like they play a little too fast and loose with like, whether or not he was anything beforehand. And I think that's one of those things where like you could have definitively been like, no, this man isn't anything. Even if the mental hospital was like, yeah, this dude like just like attacked someone with an axe, which cool callback or full circle moment that he ends up becoming what the manager was in the beginning. But I do think it would have been cool if like even there, the detective or the doctor was like, yeah, no, he like chopped someone up with an axe. When we asked him what his name was, we couldn't find any record of this person. Like something to like add that extra layer of like, oh shit, like he's not real.
But true. But they also wrote him into the world. Like I don't know. Like I would guess that was covered. Like the world would think that he exists. You know what I mean?
I guess, but like, then what? Like, there's like 15 chapters of him like being born in like New Zealand and like learning freaking cricket or whatever the hell. And
I mean, he did make him have a New Zealand accent, so I don't know.
So whatever. Again, like I'm not gonna try and like pretend to know a story better than John Carpenter. I'm happy with what we got. These are just thoughts that are coming to me so soon after watching it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. We should probably monster it up, but I have a few thoughts that just like popped into my head too now that you've been talking. I feel like if this was to come out now, I imagine like the viral marketing campaign, like the hashtag would be like, where is Sutter Kane? Hashtag where is Sutter Kane?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
It's like
That'd be cool.
like American Vandal with the who drew the dicks. Yeah.
Right. I bet they would do something like that.
Yeah.
The other thing that came to mind, I was kind of thinking that there is this did in some small element, and this might be complete bullshit that I'm making up in my head, and call me on that if that's true. It reminded me a little bit of Carpenter's like original Halloween movie, where like a lot of Halloween was meant to show us like the idyllic suburbs, right? Like in that era when a lot of people were fleeing cities to the suburbs, like are not safe. Like you leave your doors unlocked, you're going to get murdered by a guy in a white mask, you know?
Sure.
Like that there's an element of that. And I feel like there's a big element in this and some of his other movies too, where like when you leave the city to get more and more like rural, like you're less and less safe, you know? Like I felt, you know, like I think that was huge, like the danger was in the small town where nobody can find you and nobody knows where that small town is. And like, and yeah, there was some element of safety when he was in small towns, like after he left Hobbs End, but like, I don't think there was like any sense of like safety, as they left the city. Like the city felt like normal until the end when it's like the apocalypse. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he, especially in an era when I think like in this 80s and 90s when like cities were seen as like culturally like unsafe, you know, like I think it's interesting that he'd often chose to portray like the more rural suburban areas as more unsafe.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Like, I definitely caught that, but maybe I just don't have enough like context for like horror at that time to be able
Yeah,
to like credit
that's
it.
true. Yeah.
I just think that like that whole, I mean, horror works at its best when it's like a juxtaposition. You know what I mean? It's to take a place that like you take for granted or maybe even take comfort in, and then like flip it on its head and make that the unsafe thing. So.
Yep.
I applaud him for utilizing that. It was definitely effective, but also that town was creepy as soon as they got there. You know what I mean? Like I don't have much of an idea of like what their day to day was like before Stephen King Satan came by, but I can't imagine that. Like I don't know, they were all kind of creepy, you know, and only so much of that can be blamed on the demonic presence.
They're all characters from the books, though. Remember, Styles was trying to point that out.
Yeah.
Like they're all characters. Yeah, so I don't think they existed before this either.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It was a creepy spot. So like,
it was a very creepy spot. Yeah,
yeah.
I liked the painting that kept changing in the hotel too.
Yeah. And
that's a good creepy thing.
Is the dude that like blew his own head off? Like, is he the ghost from Ghostbusters 2?
Yeah, he's the painting from Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, same guy.
Wilhelm, whatever, right?
Yeah, it's the same guy.
Yeah.
This was his last role, I think.
Wow. I mean, I heard he was just like a terrible asshole in real life. Like,
he might be. Wilhelm von Homburg.
Yeah, that's a dude. Yeah. I just remember like I can't remember where I read it. It might have been like an old Cracked article or something, but they were just talking about how like everybody hated him on the set of Ghostbusters.
Maybe. Yeah. No. Yeah,
he's got a good face for horror, though, so definitely a loss.
Does. Yeah. He was convincing as a painting. Yeah. Anyway, should we monster?
Let's monster.
Yeah. So there were quite a few different kind of cool creature monster effects that we see throughout this. Like, we see definitely like mutated people who've lost their humanity to some extent. And you see it with the cop in the dreams. We see it with the kids who are running around the town. We see the Mrs. Pickman monster creature, the old little lady who runs the motel or the hotel in the town.
I might have missed it, like, but who's handcuffed to her or whatever?
Her husband. So they in one of the Sutter Kane novels, Mrs. Pickman apparently like chops up her husband, and that's what Styles says when they come in, like, "Oh, Mrs. Pickman chopped up her husband." He's like, "Not this little old woman. She didn't do anything of the sort." Remember?
Yeah.
And so yeah, basically that she's like this like she's this tentacled monster who like uses an axe to kill her husband. And does some like other fucked up shit. There's also we do briefly see the little creature that was in the garden, in like the greenhouse. We see that at one point. Then we see the weird creature that was like on the back of Sutter Kane and also like became part of Styles at one point. And then of course the most famous monster effect is the wall of monsters that chases Sam Neill at the very end, which has been kind of known as the wall of monsters since then, is what they call it. But those were just a kind of a brief overview of some of the monster effects that we see. I was gonna go over some of the standout ones that we get more focus shots on and like how they were kind of created. But specifically, the first one I wanted to talk about was the Mrs. Pickman monster, which I really thought was cool because it made me think of the finale of The Thing. Remember when The Thing had like all those tentacles coming out? And I realized that that's because in both of those sequences, they actually used a miniature rather than like a big prosthetic or something like that. So it was originally supposed to be prosthetics and like, something just built on her as an actor. But Carpenter didn't like the look. So he kind of went back to, I guess, what he did in The Thing and made it a miniature and just kind of shot it in that perspective. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I thought a lot of the effects were very evocative of The Thing. I mean, I guess the tentacles are just, it's hard to not draw the comparison.
Very tentacly.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, especially when you say that he considers these like a unofficial trilogy or whatever, like it really, if you told me like it was like the creature from The Thing, and this is like what it's been up to since then, like I would buy it.
That could work.
Yeah.
There's also a cool shot, if you remember, like, so when the Linda Stiles character, which I don't think we've said the actor, just to shout out, it's Julie Carmen plays Stiles. But when she's like compromised by the monsters in some capacity, but she comes out of the car like walking like upside down backwards with her head spinning. Remember that? They actually performed that using a contortionist who wore an upside down prosthetic mask of her face.
I was gonna say the effect worked. It looked great.
That was cool.
It
was
looked
really
great,
cool.
but like I almost immediately guessed that's how it was done because
Yeah.
because of how practical it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it didn't ruin it or anything for me. I mean, I did kind of find the whole like sight more funny than horrifying, but maybe
it was a little humorous. I think I don't know if that was the intent, but I don't think that Carpenter wouldn't welcome that at being humorous.
I mean, it was definitely like edging into Evil Dead territory as far
yes,
as far as like
exactly.
as far as like that's the kind of thing where like if you showed it for a second, like as like a jump scare, like maybe like with the dream with the cop earlier, it would be scary. But because we hold on it for so long and like it starts like doing moves and like rotating, it's hard not to just like kind of chuckle at it.
Yeah, it also kind of does remind me of The Thing with the head running around, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I just think that like Exorcist just did it better.
Yeah, the Exorcist classic. Yeah, that's true.
You know, like it's essentially this exact same effect, right? Like a contortionist or like a person that can like walk downstairs on their hands and shit.
And I think there's an element of like when you have that person, like you don't just cut away briefly. You like give them like you let them like do their craft, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, I think maybe part of it is also just like where they were. Like I think part of what makes it so scary in The Exorcist is like it's going up and down stairs, dude. Cows can't even do that. So to just kind of have it like jump out of a car into like flat land it's a little underwhelming.
It's funny. Yeah. But anyway, the big bads, what I mentioned is the wall of monsters are kind of like the biggest like effect of the movie, other than like the silly CGI paper tear thing. The big bads, known as the Wall of Monsters, are essentially they're a group of ancient evil beings who sought to enter the world once again and found a route to reality through belief. As such, their stories and as such gave their stories to the horror author Sutter Kane. So the monsters, it's really interesting. So it's like at the end, Sam Neill's running through this tunnel, and this wall of monsters is chasing him, and they're supposed to be these kind of old gods that are coming to take over. And it's kind of cool because some of the monsters are actually modeled after the Lovecraft creatures. So if you like pause and use your eagle eye, you can see like a Cthulhu or a Dagon or something in there.
Oh, cool.
But apparently it required over 30 people to operate and bring to life. And the effects work for the film was from, I think we've talked about this group before. It's KNB EFX Group. But there was 3 guys who were kind of in charge of it. But there was like sculpting, modeling, and there were some of them that they had to kind of create just individual pieces for like individual shots where they do close up on faces. But ultimately, it was just one piece that they kind of operate. And it's like some were like moving legs and puppetry, but ultimately like rolling towards them. So there's kind of like a rolling element. There's like one big piece.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool. I forgot. I had one more slight nitpick, and that is if there was a book or a series of books that were like not even pretending not to be like satanic or occultish at any point in America, like there would be such a large contingent of just like Bible thumping like protesters. Like Harry Potter was like being burned in piles, and that was about like an abused boy like finding out he's magic, you know. This is like out and out, like unequivocally like driving people insane. And they also point out that if you haven't read the book, you're not insane. So I just can't imagine that there wouldn't be a legion of like church going like Christians or whatever that wouldn't immediately like try to put a stop to this.
That's a good point. I feel like if the movie was longer, we'd see that. And those people like either wouldn't be affected or they're so okay. So I didn't bring this up, but I did read this essay that was kind of interesting. It's from someone from the Croatian Society of Film Critics.
The Croatian Society of Film Critics. I know them.
Yeah. But this guy, the last name's Sutton, I think the last name was. I'll have to find it. I'll post the link in here. But the thesis that this person put forward in this essay on on this movie was the idea that it's a examination of the influence of fictional worlds can have on the internal world or reality of the consumer. And this person like drew a through line of like that concept to like religion. And there's a quote I think that I did pull and I was going to bring up, and I guess I passed over it, but it said, we start valuing fictional realities more than our external ones, leading to the former consuming us as whole. And what is more, when a large group of people willingly shares the same reality, an entire new microcosm with its own agreed upon rules and structure emerges. And so this person is drawing the line to like the belief in a religion, like the belief in the Bible, belief in something like that, as like creating its own like culture within it, which it totally does. But like the idea of like allegiance to religion and how like beliefs can shape these cultural movements. And so like what you're saying, like I think like religion in terms of like the reality of the movie would be opposed to it, but I think there's an element to say like the movie is talking about how like religion could be something that could do something like this in a sense, like
that's the funny thing is religion has probably done worse than anything this movie has put forth.
For sure.
In terms of actual damage.
Like Sutter Kane actually talks about like the Bible in one point where he's like, I've sold more than the Bible or something like that,
Well, I mean, yeah, that was like insane to me that they said that this man was like $1 billion empire, which I guess I just don't know how much book costs back then, because that just sounds so hard to do.
We had a long time spent on like a book press in the beginning. Remember that?
Yeah, that's true.
With the John Carpenter like score where he did himself.
I mean, the whole thing is already like so convoluted. Like I've hinted at it, but the devil is not a good writer if like he put all this together. You know what I mean? It's very convoluted that like, cause like the plan to like basically ensnare Sam Neill into all of this is to have the publishers fake the author going missing as some kind of publicity stunt, but also they hired an ace Playboy insurance investigator, and then the guy actually went missing, and they don't like, you know what I mean? Like so much of it was so convoluted, but like it moves at such a clip that you gotta just roll with the punches after.
You don't question it.
You don't
question it until you're doing a podcast later.
Right. Because it's like the 20th weird thing in this movie, but it's still like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, what? Like, what was the plan? Like, it's like that like meme or whatever, where it's just like do this thing plus question mark equals profit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's exactly that. And it's so stupid, but like, whatever, man. Like, do you, if that's your plan to sell books of all things, I guess. But, it's interesting because like you bring up the religion thing, and for me, like, the Furvish fandom that was around his book, obviously like kind of escalated to like comical proportions by the time we see it. But it's still just kind of like drawing that like very like parallel like imagery of like there's really not that big a difference between like a zealot and just like a toxic fan in a lot of ways. And especially like when you were talking about the Croatian thesis, the fact that like a lot of what he said is almost like borderline applicable to like a lot of fandoms today, where there's always a contingent that like has basically just like made this thing like the only thing they care about, and their identity insofar as like they will just be like bad or like straight up abusive people to others who threaten that world. So I mean, it's all fascinating, and I still have no idea what he's trying to say.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Khalid, sometimes we don't know what bears are trying to say.
Sometimes,
and that's a segue to the 4 bears test.
Sorry, wait, just to back up. There are times when we do know what bears are trying to say.
You're questioning the segue, Khalid, and you don't do that.
Yeah, I am, but more specifically, the internal logic of the segue in this instance. Whatever. We're going long. 4 bears. if you've never listened to this podcast before, it's kind of what it sounds like and kind of dumber than what it sounds like. Basically, I ask what would happen if you replace the monster in question with four bears. Does the story change? Does it stay the same? It's a thought experiment, just kind of asking about like the merits of the creature in question. So yeah, with that being said, four bears test. This is another hard one because I don't Four Bears probably couldn't write best-selling novels that also doubled as like the doorway for demon apocalypse. I just there's a lot
I
of
don't know what bears you've met, Khalid.
I definitely not the ones you've met, Joe, because you've got me scratching my head with that fucking segue. No, but I guess like if I tried to like mesh it or figure out like a way, like let's say like that the old gods or whatever that imbued Cain with the ability to make such like crazy popular stories, if he did that for bears, yeah, I still don't know how this movie would be the same. I feel like the headline wouldn't be Bears Write Best-Selling Novels. It would be like bears have gained sentience. And that would kind of be the thing that's on everybody's mind. I don't think Sam Neill would be as blasé as he was for the majority of the first part of the movie. I think he would be very apprehensive about trying to find four missing bears. I can't imagine that comes up a lot as an Playboy insurance investigator. So, yeah, I mean, even if you like make them the monster, okay, there may be a way it works where Cain writes for like malevolent bears into his thing where like it's almost like the horsemen of the apocalypse, but it's like the bear men of the apocalypse and there's no men, it's just the bears. And they are doing his bidding. I think it would have been overkill, honestly. I think that Cain had more than enough people at his like to dispatch and like do his bidding that like I think four bears would have just, if anything, probably like gummed up the works. You know, I'm just gonna say it's a fail. I don't know a world where you plug in four bears and the story stays the same.
All right, Khalid. So it's a fail.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's a fail for you.
I agree. I usually agree with you. You know, yeah,
yeah. But you know, sometimes like your mind gets going, and you find a way to come out of the other end differently than me.
You know, sometimes, yeah, sometimes I do. But speaking of coming out of different ends of things, Khalid,
I was worried if I left it there, that's what you would go off of. Ugh.
Yeah, you can't trust me with these, Khalid. Fight or flirt? Would you fight? Or would you flirt with the monster in question? In this case, I'm going to ask you, Khalid, would you fight or would you flirt with Sutter Kane when he presents you with the reality? I think Linda's styles end up kind of.
Yeah, she flirts heavy with him.
She flirts
She's
heavy.
touching the monster on the back of his head. Like,
yeah, she's into it. Sam Neill, I think, fights for a while and ends up worse for wear, I'd say. So I'm interested where you go with it.
This one's also kind of tough because everybody who encounters Cain is literally doing what he like dictated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have agency in that, you know? Like I guess I'd flirt with him if it was like a part of like one of his chapters, but
what would you prefer? How would you have preferred to have been written?
I want to be like the third shift at that hotel with Bob.
Right.
That's how I want to. I want like a bit part in the safe part of the story where I get to just mean mug Sam Neill for like 2 seconds because he's asking like which courier service dropped something off. Either that or I want to enter the glamorous world of insurance investigating. It sounds like there's an opening. Give me a suit, give me a nice just like haircut and put me out there. I'll find those frauds. I'll get all those black and white pictures of people doing insidious stuff and lying about stuff getting burned in a fire, and then I go out about town and all the ladies want me. That's the part I want.
That's the part you want.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm Sam Neill's replacement. I would flirt.
Yeah.
I would flirt with Kane if that was the deal.
Yeah. So you just flirt with the world in general.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like in this instance, like I want to be just like a Lothario.
Mm-hmm. Just want to live it up until the end comes.
Until the end. Yeah, exactly. If I get like,
I think that's fair.
If I get like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it sounds like months actually, because he loses time. Like that's a really good trade-off. Like if the world's going to end anyway, and you're telling people what to do anyway, make me Sam Neill's replacement.
There you go. Yeah. I love it. So flirt.
Yes. Flirt to flirt.
Flirt to flirt.
Yeah.
Still just makes me more mad that you chose to fight E.T.
I stand by it, man. Like, I'm sorry. That thing is a manipulative weirdo, and we only got so many days with him in that movie to actually know what his intentions are, okay? By the end of it, he was so sick, he was probably just like, I'm out of here. I got Montezuma's revenged by the planet Earth, and I just need to, like, go home and take, like, penicillin or something.
I'm going to write a letter to Steven Spielberg that you want to fight his very personal creation.
Bro, bring him out. Like whenever, wherever. I'm dropping bows.
I don't know what that means.
It's all good. The real ones know. The real ones at home listening to this know.
I am not a real one.
In some ways.
Yeah, we're still feuding about the ET, so we'll just say that.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it's really put a strain on us.
Yeah, we got beef.
Yeah.
Anyway, Khalid, I suppose we should at that on that note wrap up the episode and move on to our final segment, our what the fandom segment.
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
I'm glad you always enjoy that.
Of course I do. How could I not?
Yeah. Anyway, Khalid, our What the Fandom segment is where we just share some things that we're interested in, whether that's reading, watching, listening to, or experiencing possibly, that we think you guys might be interested in too. It may not have anything to do with monsters, may not have anything to do with the movie we watched. Khalid, What the Fandom with you?
Thanks, Joe. My What the Fandom this week, I'm going to try and keep it brief because I have 3 different shows that have come out.
Jesus.
No, I'm just as overwhelmed. Like I cannot keep up with it all, but I'm sorry, I have to. This is my fandom. So the first one is a show that was actually written or at least partly written by a friend of the podcast, Felicia Ho.
Story editor.
Yeah, story editor. She was on our Girl in the Woods episode because she also wrote on that show. And it's called Paper Girls, and it just came out this week as of this recording on Amazon Prime. I believe all episodes are available to watch. I've only gotten a chance to watch the first 2, but it's a fantastic show. It's kind of got a Stranger Things flavor to it, but it definitely doesn't try to crib that. It's kids on bikes in the 80s. Like you're not going to get that comparison, but it really does a good job of like defining itself. The kids feel very different from the Stranger Things kids. Like it's very antagonistic at first because they don't really know each other. And without giving too much of the story away, it's basically a time travel adventure. So they do a really cool thing where they wind up in 2019 and the kids end up getting to see like themselves as adults or other people in their lives from when they were kids who have now become adults. And it was even in those 2 episodes, like the interactions between like these characters, like the core kid cast is great. They're all, I'm telling you, like, I would not be surprised if like you see all of them in movies in the next few years, just crushing it because like they're so young and they do such a good job of just like sucking you in to the story and believing it's all happening, even the fantastical parts, because their reactions feel so genuine. And it's just really fun. It's like I said, it's got a little bit of a Stranger Things flavor. It's also kind of got a Yellow Jackets flavor, the Showtime series. It just in the sense of like that show, again, I won't spoil anything, but basically like you kind of get to see them as kids and then you get to see them years later as adults after the thing that happened to them in Yellow Jackets. So you get that there too. And even with all of these like similarities, it still feels distinctly itself. So props to Frankenstein, Felicia Ho, and the rest of the Paper Girls team. If you are looking for a cool watch this weekend or over the next couple of weeks, I can't recommend it highly enough. It's so good. Other than that, my other two are my first one is going to be The Resort, which is a new show on Peacock. The first 4 episodes are out as of this recording, and it's really good. If you've ever watched Search Party and you're looking for something kind of in that world of like, it's a mystery box kind of a story mixed with like millennial ennui, mixed with maybe supernatural elements at times. This is really scratching that itch for me. And it stars Kristen Milotti and William Jackson Harper, who you might know from The Good Place. They're just such a, like, honestly, Kristen Milotti with just about anybody, like you put her up against like a mop and like there's chemistry. Like that woman can act. She's so good. So like to put her with somebody like William Jackson Harper, who also is just like a super charismatic and charming person, and you get fireworks, you get gangbusters there, and that's not to say anything of like the rest of the supporting cast, which is so fantastic. Nick Offerman, Skylar Gisondo, so many people, and they all bring it, and I have no idea where the story's going, and I'm so ready for episode 5. Like, give it a shot. Peacock is putting out bangers. I think this is like the 3rd or 4th What the Fandom that has like highlighted a Peacock show, and that thing's only been around for like a year. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's insane.
Everyone joked about it for a while too. Like, they're like Peacock.
Of course they did. Like the stuff they were putting out was like dumb before then.
Now it's good.
Yeah, it's so good. And you please, like, let's try to avoid what happened to HBO Max, guys. Like, we need to support these like good programs on good streamers while they're putting them out there. If you ever liked NBC comedies when they were like great, they didn't disappear. They went to Peacock. And then the last one, real quick, I think it was my What the Fandom when the first season came out, but season 2 just came out, Reservation Dogs. It's on Hulu. And man, like season 2 out the gate swinging. The first 2 episodes, so freaking good. Go back, watch season 1 if you haven't yet. It's an all indigenous like crew that is just like crushing it in every sense of the word and telling such a fresh new story. And like I know that like that it feels like that's so like rarer and rarer these days, but they're out there, and this definitely deserves to be mentioned above like a lot of them. So those are my 3. You got a lot to watch between now and the next What the Fandom, so I hope you check these out. But Joe, What the Fandom with you?
Thanks for asking, Khalid. Those are some good ones. I'm pretty excited to check all those ones out.
Yeah, I think I know you'll dig them all. Like every one of them are awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely seem right up my alley.
Yeah.
I don't have much new to bring to my What the Fandoms this week. A lot of the stuff we're watching is similar to what I brought up before. I will say I don't think I mentioned, and I don't feel like I hear too much about it. But Nicole and I have been really enjoying throwing on the new episodes of Wellington Paranormal. I may have brought that up before, but season 3 just we finished season 3. Season 4 is releasing a couple episodes now. They debut over in New Zealand a while ago, so I think those seasons have already been out. But that show's been kind of just a continual fun, just light breezy comedy to throw on when we have like 23 minutes. It's really nice. Like I'm just like, it feels like comforting to watch, but it's just such a silly show. We're also watching What We Do in the Shadows, the new series of that, or season of that,
new
which
season's
is
so good,
phenomenal, and it doesn't really need a recommendation because it's like really popular, but it's the same team, and I think Wellington Paranormal doesn't have the clout necessarily as Shadows does at this point, at least, especially over here. But I think it's definitely worth it. It's not the same vibe necessarily as What We Do in the Shadows in terms of like the world building that they create. Like this is just like each episode of Wellington,
the same world, right?
They do. But Wellington Paranormal, just like it's just silly one-off episodes. Like the recent one we just watched was like this like old like Maori bird woman legend that was suddenly just like kidnapping people in Wellington, and it's very fun. And I feel like the newer episodes have actually leaned into like Maori cultural myths more, which has been kind of fun to see. So I've really enjoyed it. It's a fun show. It's very silly, very ridiculous. very much like a parody of like a cops type show, where all the cops are just ridiculously, mostly idiotic and very funny. Yeah.
No,
So I like it.
I never got past season 1, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. It's just one of those things of like, I had to recommend 3 shows this week. There's too much.
Yeah.
But it is a good show. And if Joe's vouching for the new season, definitely stick with it. It's really good.
Yeah. And they're short, like 6 episode seasons and like 20 some episodes or 20 some minutes an episode. It's easy to get through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my What the Fandom, Khalid.
Awesome. So it sounds like you guys got a lot to watch. Honorable mention, the Orville season 3. Just whatever. I've already.
I shouted that one out too before. Yeah. I think we did a couple weeks ago. Yeah, so that's a good one.
It's insane. Like they just had their season finale, and like I was always like passively like into it, you know. But even more than just like being a loving Star Trek ode. It is really coming into its own, and the action and storytelling has gotten so ambitious, and it's so unexpected from Seth MacFarlane Studios or whatever the fuck he calls it, that I have to tell people, because it feels like I'm pranking you when I say go check out the Orville. But no, it's really good, and it's doing its own thing on its own terms, and it's cool to see.
For sure. It's really stepped up the game this season.
Yeah. So whatever. Watch a million shows. We'll keep recommending more. And with that being said, thank you all for listening again to another fun discussion of Frankenstein's podcast. Please, somebody let me know exactly how much you could do with a crayon before it burns out. Like I need some kind of test here. So please let us know. But until next time, guys, creep it easy.